Well, I think it's a pretty safe bet for Democrats, actually, because they're the ones who have been promising to protect and preserve our abortion rights, and in fact, it was the Republican appointees to the Supreme Court who stripped those rights away. So I think it's really, they need to really emphasize that abortion rights are on the ballot in every single race at the federal and state, and even the local level right now.
Yeah, and in some states that have already voted, for example, on this in sort of referenda, it still seems that overwhelmingly people want to support the rights of women to choose.
Yeah, in the United States, and this is kind of reflected worldwide, there is tremendous and majority support for abortion rights. In the US, the numbers are estimated to be around 60 to 70% of people do support the Roe framework. Those numbers increased after the Supreme Court took it away in June with the Dobbs decision. So the question is really whether people will vote. Americans don't tend to vote very much as they should for a number of very good reasons, as well as some not so good reasons. But access to voting is difficult for many people. Hours are restricted. There's a lot of impediments and what we call gerrymandering, or sort of creating districts that exclude people, and particularly people on the margins, people of color, people in rural areas, those kinds of things. And they don't always vote on the abortion issue the way they believe. They often put economic concerns or other things at the top of the list, which are all very valid. But we have people who support abortion rights who support a whole host of really strong economic policies and recovery for this country.
And that's the complication of making such a plea to voters, or such a play to voters, because economic issues are dominating the US, much like everywhere else in the world. And it could be seen as a rebuff of this offer.
Well, I think two things are important there. First of all, the Democrats have been very strong on the economy and the post-COVID recovery. The inflation that we're seeing globally is certainly felt hard in the rising energy costs in this country, and healthcare costs as well. But the Democrats have been quite strong on giving direct aid to people and will continue to do so. And the second thing is, I think we need to say, we don't have to turn every state Democratic, but we do have to support abortion rights everywhere. So we're looking at races like the races in Texas for governor, or for particularly attorney general, which is the chief law enforcement officer. There's a candidate, Rochelle Garza, who has been extremely strong on abortion rights. Similarly, nationwide, there are local candidates and state level candidates, as well as federal level, all of which matters around abortion rights. This may not be a referendum, as we've seen in Ireland and other places, but it really is a vote about our human rights and our access to abortion, and whether we're going to undo the damage that the Supreme Court has done.
So if the Democrats were able to hold on to their majority, what would the process be to enshrine this into law?
Well, they proposed the act again that would codify Roe, or put Roe into law, have a vote on it. They would have to get rid of the Senate filibuster unless they get more of a majority in the Senate, which would mean we don't need 60 votes in the Senate. And that's something the Democrats have been talking about doing for a long time. And we need to focus on judges, federal court judges, judges at all levels. The Biden administration has done some great work in enforcing laws that require emergency rooms to treat pregnant women who are coming in with life-threatening abortions. Unbelievably, that has not been happening enough in this country. The damage that has been done in this past few months after the Dobbs decision has been really shocking and upsetting to see.
Yeah, give us a sense of what has happened since that Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe v. Wade. What has the flow-on effect been, across the states?
There have really been two major effects we've seen. First of all, this just real clamp down and chill of abortion rights, even legal abortion rights, even life-saving abortion rights. As I mentioned earlier, there are medical providers who are very reluctant to treat women and people who are coming in with life-threatening pregnancies because they still hear a fetal heartbeat. They're worried about violating the states individual red. They're worried about violating the red states' laws. And then secondly, we've seen a tremendous outpouring of support for women. We've seen people who are taking risks themselves to get medication abortion into women's hands when they need it, to help people travel who can travel for abortions to states where it's still very available. And we've seen blue states really stepping up to protect their medical providers and also to protect the women who are traveling. So we sort of the best of times and the worst of times all at once.
Yeah. You know, it is interesting to see, despite the backlash to the decision, that there are so many Republicans vehemently backing the anti-abortion stance.
Yeah, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, especially when they've seen this issue be a winner for the far right for a very long time. It has been a wedge issue. It's boycotting and banning and restricting abortion has been something that the anti-abortion folks really get out and vote. And so we need to do the same thing. And to protect abortion rights, we need to vote like it matters, because it does to so many people, to the majority of people, and also because it's a fundamental human right to decide whether, when, and with whom to have a child or not.
Yeah, we will watch as it plays out. Julie, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Good to see you. Bye.